Hello, welcome to tonight's Meet the Team session. I know some of you are just finishing up connecting to audio, so I'll just make sure that I extend this just a little bit longer so we don't miss anything. Welcome to Meet the Experts, and for Meet the Doulas, Meet the Team here at Helping Hands. We do have these sessions once a month, and we alternate between getting to meet all of our lovely faces as well as getting to share the other month with an educational topic that's relevant in the pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum phase of your life. So just because you come once, you're welcome to come as many times as you'd like and be able to find out what our next educational topic is. So Drew, if you want to switch to the next slide. So like I was saying, we're going to be learning about all of these faces. So for our agenda, we're going to be going through our team, getting to learn a little bit more of the personal side of each of us at Helping Hands. We'll also have a chance to do Q&A. So if you've got a burning question about something about doulas, something about postpartum, birth, prenatal, you literally have a panel of experts that you can use. Now, this session is recorded for the purpose of those that maybe are joining late and they don't want to miss any of the section, or if something has come up, like they're not feeling well or something's come up in their schedule, so they don't miss the opportunity. You also can ask for a recording. We will, however, unrecord so that if there's any private questions that you have, burning questions, that type of stuff, you have access to that too. And then our favorite part of the session is kind of like doula speed dating, except for it's way less awkward. We have breakout rooms that you have access to where you get to meet a couple of us one-on-one. You get to ask your more customized or personal, maybe vulnerable questions even. And we walk you through the major questions people typically ask us. So definitely stay on. If you registered for us and you've never spoken to someone at Helping Hands, please feel free to send a message in our chat, just sharing who you are, what you're looking for, and that way I can pair you accordingly to someone in your area and someone that provides the service that you're looking for. So let's get started. So the first doula at Helping Hands is myself. Might as well get that out of the way. So I'm Jessica. I'm one of the owners at Helping Hands, but I'm also a birth and postpartum doula. So why did I become a doula? I don't really know. There's lots of avenues of how that started, if I'm being completely honest with you. I was a bit of a birth nerd in my teenage years, but accidentally, I was voluntold to attend my aunt's birth. I'm not fully sure why, but I went, and I think I was 15 at the time and loved it. I didn't think it was weird. I didn't think it was scary. It was pretty boring in comparison to what I thought birth was in movies, TV shows, all the things that most first-time parents think birth and parenting is like, to be honest, from our experience. But I loved it. I loved being able to walk my aunt at the time, even though I didn't have education at that point, but just be compassionate care during, very vulnerable time in her life. Fast forward to university and life experience. I took a 5th year of school because I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was in health sciences, but I didn't want to work in a hospital. I didn't want to work in an office, but I wanted to help people. And I learned about midwives and midwifery care. And I couldn't believe that that was available in Ontario. I, for some reason, thought it was something that only existed in European countries. And I don't know why I thought that. I had a health science degree. I should have known this, but I didn't. And exploring more, I realized that not only midwives existed, but the miracle of doula workers also existed. And it was a non-medical care provider that was kind of like a wedding planner, but for the birth world. And honestly, that sounded like such a dream for me, helping people to prepare for the biggest life transition, kind of like a wedding planner, but of course I realized that's very different, but it's helping to make the day less stressful, more enjoyable, and giving those behind the scene tips and tricks. So I started there, I loved it. And then I learned about postnatal doulas, and they're kind of like the wedding planner if you were to take them on your honeymoon, but which would be super weird. But in this situation, it's kind of like Mary Poppins helping you at home, figuring out the most important job of your life, being a parent, and taking away the stress and the feeling like you're just surviving all the time and switching it to thriving. So that's my messy story of how I became a doula. It's not like I knew when I was 4 years old, I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. It's, I think for most of us, none of us knew it existed until it did. And then it became an aha moment. So that's why I became a doula. My favorite thing about this work is it is different day to day. It's not your typical 9 to 5. And I think we all thrive in that. We love keeping it fresh. We love continuously learning. We love being able to help people in a customized way. But I would say my favorite, like specific favorite thing about doula work is helping people through really challenging times, whether it's in birth and working through, something that, the discomfort of something, and then being able to get really comfortable and feel really good and make hard decisions. Or it could be with a new baby and finally getting into the rhythm of something and feeling really proud of themselves. Being there to bear witness of that is very special and a very dear place in my heart. We like to share a funny story about doula work, and I've got plenty. Almost always I share some sort of newborn poop story, but I'm going to try to stay away from that because I know not everyone thinks that's funny. Plus, I'm sure one of you doulas is going to share something about a diaper. So maybe what I'll share is something a little bit more birth related. So at Helping Hands, we are on call with a team of 2 because we never know when birth is going to happen or how quickly it's going to happen, where you're going to be, all that stuff. So this was about a year ago. My partner and I had a feeling about this specific client. She wouldn't want to bug us. She would just go into labor and tell us like right before she was pushing her baby that it was happening. Well, fast forward to, I think it was February, early in the morning, I get a message to say, hey, didn't want to bug you, but I thought I was in labor, so I went to triage and I'm 9 centimeters. And I was like, how am I going to get to you that fast? But I literally stopped, dropped, and doulaed. And because of my teammate, they were able to fill in and support me, but I got there in literally half an hour. But the problem is, and why it's funny, is I didn't have my uniform with me. I had no time for that. So I was wearing snow pants and winter boots to someone's birth support. And that's just life. But for me, that was a very funny experience, and our clients didn't care. So thing to note, if you're a client at Helping Hands, over communicate. Your doulas want to be able to help support you rather than rush to get to you when you think it's appropriate to message. And then one other thing I'd love to share is something that clients find surprising, either about birth, newborns, or postpartum. I like to share something different each time. And something I was thinking about today while I was actually chatting with one of our team members about infant feeding, and you know who you are on this chat, is, I didn't speak directly to you about this, but it got me thinking. I think a lot of people have a focus that if they're planning on breastfeeding or chest feeding, that is where they need to focus their education. But the number of clients that I have that don't realize how much you need to know about formula feeding or learning how to do a paced bottle to help reduce gas for babies is just as important. So my takeaway for all of you that are listening that have not yet welcomed your baby, take your time to learn those things that maybe you think is second nature, but there's a lot about it that can make that newborn phase a lot easier. So that's me. Sorry I talked your ears off. Let's go and find out about the next team member. Amanda, and I won't let the cat out of the bag. This is who I was talking about with infant feeding today. So Amanda, take it away.
Thank you, Jessica. So I'm Amanda Kennedy. I am a postpartum doula with Helping Hands. Um, my story is a little complicated too about how I became a doula, and I think I tell it a little different every time. Um, so essentially, when I had my first child, who is turning 15 this summer, so I have three girls, 15, 13, and 10, I was essentially alone in Ontario. A lot of my family was all out east in New Brunswick. My friends hadn't had babies yet. Their dad and I were the only ones here to look after the baby, and it was pretty overwhelming. And I remember very specifically in the middle of one night, walking up and down the hall thinking, there has got to be someone who can come help me with this. And then the thought went away, and fast forward to now, and I am the person who could have gone and helped me. And ultimately, I was actually sharing with my kids the other night about those thoughts, and we talk a lot about my doula work. And I said, really, the reason I am a doula is because I never want another family to feel the way I felt in the middle of the night. So there's lots of other things. I love teaching. I do have an education degree. I love all of those aspects, but ultimately the reason is because I don't want anyone to feel alone or unsupported, and just feel confident and like they're being successful and, as Jessica said, thriving as parents and with their baby. Favorite thing about my work, again, would probably go along the same lines, is essentially when I arrive and we start working together and they're expressing some of the challenges or things that aren't going well, and helping them problem solve, because a lot of baby work is trial and error. As we all know, they don't come with a manual, and every baby is different. Even families who have one or two or three children already, the next one is always a little bit different, and sometimes a lot different. And you really do have to have lots of ideas and try different things, and celebrating the successes with them and seeing them be successful and have happy babies and happy families is really my absolute favorite thing about the job. I'm not going to share a funny story. I think what I'd like to share is my favorite thing to do when I'm not actually doulaing, because I think it is quite entertaining and kind of funny as well. As most of our team knows, I have a lot of pets. I have 2 cats, a dog, a gecko, and the forbidden tarantula. But also outside of that, my middle daughter has now started 4-H. So outside of doula work, we spend 4 to 5 nights at the barn with her calf named Mayhem now. So I guess my favorite thing outside of that is looking after animals. So I really like looking after things. And then something I think clients find surprising, there's a lot of different things. I think they find, again, like, I guess I could go with what Jessica was talking about in terms of the feeding aspect that her and I were talking about today, because it's front and center on my mind, is just how much goes into the feeding and how often you're feeding your baby, and then what the support that is really important around that. And having as much information and knowledge as you can going into it prior to birth, just so that when you do welcome your baby and things maybe go well, it's because you're prepared. And sometimes when things aren't going the way you expect, then you have a plan and you're still prepared and you can feel confident. But it can be quite surprising how not natural things can go when you expect it to be a very natural process. And there's a lot of things you can do to make it work well, and just remembering that you have teams of people to support you. And I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Amanda. I do always appreciate your humor along the way. And I can't imagine having a tarantula. I'm sure so many people feel that way when they hear that. So next on our team chat, we have Heidi, who's going to be chatting a little bit about who she is.
Hello and good evening, everyone. My name's Heidi Matthias. I'm a postpartum doula with Helping Hands. And Why I became a doula 10 years ago was also a little varied. Really, I had just found out about what doulas were at that time, a decade ago. And I wished so much, thinking back to my births, that there had been a doula. And, and my mom, I was lucky enough to have a mother who was available to be a wonderful example of what a good postpartum doula does. So I loved my time being pregnant, and I loved learning about birth and babies, and I took all the longest courses. And my background is in physiotherapy. So when it came time after raising my kids to decide whether I was going to go back to physiotherapy, that's when I had heard about doulas. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is what I should have been doing all that time. And I think part of it is that as a physio, I think I was always amazed at how our bodies are so intelligent and what wonderful things a woman's body is capable of doing. You know, we can build a brain, we can build a spinal cord, we can feed our new little infant for 6 months all by ourselves. And so if I can impart a little bit of my wonder and awe and confidence in our bodies and our instincts to help moms and dads make this transition, that is a real joy. And that's, I think, the most of the important reason that I became a doula. And that ties into my favorite thing about being a doula too, is being part of this really magical time in people's lives where some of the very best memories are made, the really high joys, and also the really difficult, challenging times. And it's such a balance of those highs and lows. And it's a time where emotionally we have a lot going on. The hormones are flowing through us. And I find it such an intimate time, and it's a real privilege to be invited to work with families in this time and see how families navigate it, and to be part of the process is a real privilege. I find that balance of intensity and beauty to be almost intoxicating. It's really a special thing to be with families. So when I'm also not going to share a funny story, because again, I was trying to avoid diaper stories. I got lots of those, but what I wanted to just say was something that I do when I'm not doulaing is also taking care of animals. I love hiking with my puppy, and I am learning to take care of honeybees. So there's a lot to learn there with beekeeping, but I find it really fascinating. So that's something that keeps me busy. And something surprising that I still find surprising is the intensity, or how much parents fall in love with their babies. I think sometimes they're a little overwhelmed. Like, I didn't think I could be so in love with this baby. And it doesn't, it isn't immediate for all parents. There's sometimes a time where we need to work on bonding. But one of the things that I love watching is when a parent catches their babies at this quiet, alert time, and they have this eye contact that doesn't leave. They just stare into each other's eyes for maybe 30, 40 seconds, and you can just feel the love. They're just so connected, both baby and parent. And that to me is just like, it's the coolest thing. Like, we know that there's hormones and things flowing, but to me, it's just magic. So I'm going to pass it on to the next doula. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. So next
Thank you, Heidi. My name is Octavia, and I am a postpartum doula. It's great to meet all of you today. Why I became a doula? So that's a really great question. I just love supporting babies and mothers, and I think they're just the cutest duo. And I just always admired the fact that a mother can birth a baby, and I just really want to be part of the emotional process and really support mothers and empower mothers. Um, I really didn't have this thought out. It was definitely in a conversation that I was having with a friend. She said, you know, Octavia, like you'll do great as a doula. And I looked at her and I was like, I'm sorry, what is a doula? So I had to quickly search it up, and um, I realized she was right, and I really thank her for that. And spiritually, I want to facilitate the emotional aspect from the mother. And um, I always thought to myself, you know, what is my purpose in life? And as me being very young in my age, in my early 20s, people say, you know, you have your whole life to figure out what your purpose is in life. And I think at a very young age and at right now in this moment, I feel like I'm a light worker. So I really want to shed light to mothers in the process of postpartum. And I think that it's so important to talk to mothers about their birthing experience and in terms of what their needs are at that moment in time. And fundamentally, do have nursing background and a new graduate at best, actually. So I really want to focus on a holistic framework for both mothers, birth parents, and partners, and the baby, and caring for the baby. And I think as we work collectively together, I think we could form a great team. My favorite thing about this work, this is such a big question, loaded question, but my favorite thing about this work is probably the bonding with the baby and just asking the mother about her birthing experience. And I understand fully that not all birth stories are positive, but I always am an active listener, and I love listening to the stories. They're very important to me. And a funny story about my doula journey would probably be that as soon as I walk into a house, everyone just comes to me. I think it's just the gravitating nature of who I am as a person. So I remember holding a baby in one, cradling a baby in one arm, and then petting the dog with my other hand, and then looking at the older sibling and telling her where to color. So definitely multitasking at best and at its finest, but definitely a magnet for all. In terms of what I find surprising about newborns is that not many people know this, but newborns actually have more bones than the adult. Newborns actually have 300 bones, and in their adult lifespan, they could have up to 206. So a little biology for all. And I don't really have much else to say, but I really am so excited to get to know all of you. And I will pass it on to the next doula. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Octavia. Okay, who's next? Leaving me in suspense. All right, so Maria, I don't think can join us tonight. She's had something come up, but we might pop in towards the end of the session. But we have Petra, who is a sleep consultant on our team, and I'll let her explain what that is. Take it away.
Yes, thank you, Jessica. Hello, everyone. My name is Petra, and I am a sleep consultant. And the reason why I became a sleep consultant was because when I was a postpartum doula, I found that a lot of my clients struggled with sleep. So that is also, right away, one of the surprising things that parents are experiencing when they have their newborn, how challenging sleep is and how they have not thought about sleep for after they have given birth, not only for themselves, but also for the baby. So I'm trying to juggle everything up here. That's also one of the favorite things about my work. I love talking about sleep. I can talk forever about sleep. I love helping everybody with sleep, not only the babies, but also the parents. There are often during pregnancy, very different, or quite a few different things that we can do to improve our sleep, and hopefully that can carry into the postpartum period. So that can be very important. As a sleep consultant, what I do is I really look at sleep as a whole. Sleep never comes by itself. First of all, everybody knows how to sleep. It's not like we need to teach our children how to sleep. It's just that the brain needs to develop all the parts that they can sleep. So when we're talking about sleep consulting, I always try to avoid to use the word sleep training, because we are not really training anybody. And sleep is really all about development. And that's one of the other things that that parents often don't know and don't realize. They are often very surprised about how sleep works and how it all comes together. Funny story. I don't really have a lot of funny stories. I've been a doula for a very long time, and I've been a sleep consultant for quite a few years. But really, what is really funny is when I start working with clients, it's often for 3 or 4 weeks, and we start off, and then it's like, well, I like sometimes they come to me and babies are waking up 4, 5, 6 times, and they want to eat or they need to be helped back to sleep. And then when I come up with the plan and I say, okay, for the first week or 2, I would like you to wake up the baby twice at night, so that we have nutrition supporting sleep for a longer period of time. They say, oh, only twice at night. That's perfect. Now I'm waking up 4 or 5 times at night. So this is perfect. After 2 weeks, they look at me like, can we just skip those 2 feedings? Because I don't want to wake up anymore. So that's a little bit of a funny and interesting story. So going from 5 times waking up at night to 2 times waking up sounds really great the first time. But after 2 or 3 weeks, it's like, can we just skip those 2? So, and usually we can. So I think that's really short who I am, what I do. I work with the team when we have clients that also have postpartum care. We often communicate with each other how things are going, what we are doing, which is really important. And one thing I would like to say is I'd like to promote a newborn sleep workshop that we have here at Helping Hands, which is really great for parents that are expecting their baby, so that they have a little bit of education about what to expect, and they can set reasonable expectations, and they are not going to be surprised by week 2 or 3 when they look at their doula and like, I need a nap. So that's a little bit about me, and happy to meet you a little bit later. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our sleep expert extraordinaire, Petra. Next, we have a special guest who's not a direct team member of Helping Hands, but we refer to her left, right, and center. She is Laura Van Hagen, and she is our naturopathic doctor that we love to be able to share the resource with our clients. She'll talk to you all about what that means, but she focuses on the fertility, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum phase of life, and how to make those aches and pains go away, but also to really have the best ability for your body to do what it needs to do. So she's going to be sharing a little bit about herself and a very exciting workshop that she has coming up. So Laura, take it away. Oh, I think you came on muted. I should have warned you about that.
Oh, yes, I did come on muted. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't know if you might hear some bedtime in the background. I'm a mom myself, and we had a bit of a bottle fiasco tonight, and so I'm here and happy to be joining the team. As Jessica mentioned, you did such a lovely job introducing me. My name is Dr. Laura Van Hagen, and I am a naturopathic doctor. And really, what I do in my practice is help patients throughout their entire journey from, that positive pregnancy test through to the first year of life. I'm really there to support them every step of the way. So I work a lot with patients who are trying to conceive or thinking about getting pregnant, patients who are in their pregnancy, and then once they give birth, I can continue to support them during that postpartum period, all the way up until, that first year of age. And then, now that I've been out in practice, treating patients for over 5 years now, starting to see repeat patients for second and third baby, which is so exciting to help support them. And, I really invite patients to work with me if they need that additional care. Maybe they feel like they're not getting the support or resources they need elsewhere in their pregnancy, or they want a more natural and holistic approach to their pregnancy care. That's where I can really step in. As I said, I work a lot with the Helping Hands team, really, really great collaboration, and I kind of step in areas that they can't do, right? And so a big part of my practice can be acupuncture, which is a really great therapeutic option for common concerns in pregnancy, like nausea and vomiting, and then also helping for labor induction. So you have your doula team there, 24/7 is your support, and then I can fill in more of that medical guide in terms of acupuncture, blood work, herbal prescriptions. So providing those additional pieces and really complementing the care that you're receiving. I'm really excited. We have an upcoming workshop on preparing your body for baby. This is something that I'm super passionate about, and was actually going back in time all the way to my master's thesis. So I've always enjoyed helping patients during that preconception stage, and then also feeling well during their pregnancy. And so I was working on the slides today, and it was so much fun because I was thinking about, what are these common aches and pains that come up in pregnancy? So what do I hear all the time, right? The constipation, the hemorrhoids, the back pain, the round ligament pain, the total exhaustion. Maybe now you're over your due date and you're like, Laura, I want to get this baby out. I'm tired of being pregnant. So preparing your body for baby, and then preparing for the aches and pains that come with pregnancy and how I can best support you. So those will be all the things and more that we'll be touching on during that webinar. And I'm really going to try and give you some tips and strategies that you can take away that night and put into action. And so if you are feeling, really, really tired, here's some key blood work that we want to run, or here's some key things you can do right now in terms of, the 5 foods I want you to put in your diet for that constipation. Or here's, the 5 things you can do at home to help, induce labor naturally if you're, over your due date and want to avoid an induction. So, really some great takeaway actionable items. And that will all be put together for you in our webinar in some really easy to read slides. And I promise I'll save lots of time for questions as well, so that we can make sure that you understand and feel supported during that time.
That's awesome. So Drew, if you could actually just share to the next slide so that people can see a little bit more about this workshop. So we can send this out to you through email as well if you're interested, and very easy to register. And that's coming up next week. Can't believe it's going to be almost, right? Next week is the end of May.
It is next week, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Be really, really great. Okay, great. So I think kind of that the next step that we're at with our session today is to open up the floor for anyone that might have questions. So again, it could be for our guest, Dr. Laura, or it could be for any of our doulas or sleep consultant here. If you've got any questions that you'd like to just ask, we'll give it a minute or two, and then we will go right into breakout rooms. So as I'm just waiting to see if anyone unmutes themselves or writes in the chat, it's okay if you don't have questions, that's fine. But how the breakout rooms will work is essentially we will move you into a room, it's either room 1 through 6, click join now, and then your doulas will be filtering in for about 5-6 minutes of conversation. If you're an attendee, stay in your room. We will swap to be able to go, our doulas will swap in and out of the rooms. So I think, did we have one question come up? Oh, just that we have no questions right now, and that's okay. So what we'll do is we'll stop recording